New Jersey, January 1995. A man stands at the Kino counter of Bally's Park Place Casino, holding a ticket worth $100,000. The staff sense something wrong immediately. When they ask for ID, there's a pause, a glance toward the exits. Answers come 1 second too late. The win itself is too perfect. 8 numbers lined up in exact sequence. Not lucky, engineered. Security pulls the ticket into the back room. They check the machine logs, the timing cycles, the surveillance footage. Nothing adds up. Upstairs in the hotel, investigators push open a door. Computer equipment covers the desk. EPROM chips scattered across the table. Technical manuals about Bally's Kino system lie open. And handwritten notes detail the exact mechanics of the random number generator and how to predict its output. The man who wrote those calculations is already gone. 3 hours ago, boarding a flight back to Las Vegas. His name is Ron Harris. Until this moment, he was the person the casino industry trusted to protect them from exactly this. Ron Harris worked for the Nevada Gaming Control Board in the early 1990s as a computer programmer specializing in electronic gaming systems. His responsibilities included verifying slot machines operated fairly, testing random number generators, examining EPROM chips containing game code, confirming payout tables, and approving machines before they reached casino floors. The position came with complete access, source code for every slot machine and Kino system, testing equipment, manufacturer documentation, EPROM programming tools. Any machine could be opened, any chip could be read. Diagnostics could be run without oversight. Trust flowed downward through the system. Casinos trusted regulators. Regulators trusted Harris. Years of employment, supervisors who considered his work thorough, technical knowledge surpassing most colleagues in the department. When Ron Harris signed verification documents, the industry treated those machines as certified and legal. What Harris understood, and what nobody else seemed to consider, was how fragile that trust actually was. Which security checks existed and which didn't, where the gaps were, what assumptions held the entire system together. The regulatory framework functioned only because everyone believed people in his position would never exploit it. The critical flaw became clear over time. Nobody verified his verifications. Nobody audited his modifications. Nobody tested the equipment he used to certify other equipment. A single point of failure wrapped in institutional trust. Harris began considering what would happen if that trust was misplaced. The testing lab sat in a warehouse outside Las Vegas. Manufacturers shipped machines there for approval. Standard procedure involved opening each unit, extracting the EPROM chips, loading them into diagnostic readers, and comparing the data against technical specifications. EPROM chips functioned as the brain of older slot machines. Everything that made a slot machine work lived inside those chips. The random number generator algorithm, the payout logic, the display systems, the complete operational code. During routine testing one afternoon, Harris realized something most people in his position never considered. The chips could be reprogrammed using standard equipment. When regulators verified a chip, they checked a checksum, a mathematical fingerprint calculated from the program code. If someone rewrote the code and then recalculated that checksum to match, the modified chip would pass inspection as authentic. Testing this theory required a decommissioned machine. Harris extracted its EPROM, loaded the code onto his programming workstation, and studied how the random number generator and payout systems functioned. Then came the critical modification. A hidden subroutine added to the existing code, something that would monitor coin insertions, track the exact sequence, count the order, wait for a pattern that would never occur during normal gambling, a specific arrangement of coins and button presses that defied standard play behavior. The trigger mechanism was elegant in its simplicity. Insert coins following an exact sequence. Press spin at a precise moment. The hidden code detects this pattern. Once detected, the random number generator gets bypassed completely. The next spin forces a jackpot. Under every other condition, the machine operated exactly as designed. Random outcomes, legal functionality, normal casino operation. Only when that specific trigger fired would the machine follow hidden instructions. Harris burned the modified code onto a fresh EPROM, recalculated the checksum, installed it in the test machine, ran every standard diagnostic test the gaming control board used for certification. Everything passed. The checksum matched official specifications. The machine appeared completely legitimate under regulatory inspection. Then came the moment of validation. Harris performed the trigger sequence himself. The machine paid. Sitting alone in that testing lab, Harris understood what had just been proven. The system had no defense against someone in his position. Complete control over testing equipment, complete control over verification procedures, complete control over which machines received approval and which didn't. Unless a mistake was made, nobody would ever discover this. One vulnerability remained. Casinos and manufacturers occasionally performed independent chip inspections. If someone tested a modified EPROM using equipment Harris didn't control, the altered code might be detected. The solution required controlling the testing equipment itself. Harris modified the laptops and diagnostic systems used throughout the Nevada Gaming Control Board for chip validation. The modifications were subtle but complete. When technicians inserted a chip into these systems, the equipment would analyze it and display results. Clean chips showed accurate data. Modified chips, chips containing Harris's hidden code, displayed false information. Original checksums appeared on screen. Code structure looked legitimate. The equipment verified manipulated chips as authentic even while hidden subroutines existed in the program. This created a two-layer defense. The chips themselves passed checksum verification through mathematical manipulation. The testing equipment confirmed authenticity through program deception. Any inspection using gaming control board tools would fail to detect the modifications. Other staff members began using his equipment for routine verifications. Casinos started requesting his personal oversight on new machine installations. Manufacturers came to trust his certification process more than their own internal quality controls. Harris had positioned himself as the final authority in a chain of oversight that no longer had any real oversight. The infrastructure was ready. Time to operate at scale. Claiming jackpots personally was never an option. Harris's face was known throughout Nevada casinos. His employment was documented in gaming industry databases. Any significant win attached to his name would trigger immediate investigation. The operation required someone else to collect the winnings. Reed Errol McNeil, an acquaintance from high school years earlier, clean background, no criminal record, no connections to the gaming industry, no reason for casino surveillance to flag him as suspicious. Harris laid out the structure. Slot machines would be modified during his official duties as a gaming control board inspector. Days or weeks later, McNeil would visit those specific machines and execute the trigger sequences. The machines would pay. McNeil would collect. They would split the proceeds. McNeil agreed. They established operational security protocols. No written plans, no detailed phone conversations, no public meetings. Harris would identify target machines and communicate trigger sequences in deliberately vague terms. McNeil would execute exactly as instructed without deviation. The first test targeted a small Las Vegas casino. Harris arrived for a routine machine inspection under official pretense. During that inspection, the original EPROM was swapped for a modified version. Documentation listed the machine as verified and legally compliant. 3 days passed before McNeil entered that casino, located the target machine, inserted coins following the program sequence, pressed buttons in the exact pattern Harris had specified. $1,500 paid out. Casino security reviewed the win. Surveillance footage showed ordinary slot play. The machine had functioned normally before the jackpot and continued functioning normally afterward. Nothing irregular appeared in any system logs. The payout was processed without question. When Harris checked gaming control board records later, no flags had been raised, no alerts generated, no investigation requests submitted, and thus, the operation was no longer theoretical. More machines, more casinos, more modified EPROMs deployed across Las Vegas. Each chip contained identical hidden architecture, game code that ran normally under standard conditions, random number generators producing legitimate random results, payout tables functioning as designed. But underneath all that legitimate code, the trigger subroutine waited. Think of it as a Konami cheat code built into casino equipment, a specified sequence of inputs, coins inserted in a particular order, buttons pressed at precise moments, timing that defied normal gambling behavior, that unlocked a forced payout. The exact pattern varied between machines, but the underlying principle remained constant. McNeil moved between casinos, played machines Harris had certified weeks earlier, executed the trigger sequences. The jackpots were never excessive. $5,000 at one casino, $8,000 at another, $12,000 somewhere else. Amounts carefully calibrated to stay below thresholds that triggered enhanced security, large enough to accumulate serious money, small enough to avoid detection. The operation ran continuously from 1993 through 1995. Multiple casinos, dozens of machines, hundreds of thousands of dollars extracted from the Nevada gaming industry without detection. Casinos saw no anomalies because the modifications remained invisible during normal operation. Surveillance cameras recorded ordinary slot play. Coin insertion patterns appeared random to observers. Every other customer who played these machines experienced legitimate random outcomes. The random number generator produced fair results, except during those specific seconds when the trigger sequence activated. Meanwhile, Harris continued working at the Nevada Gaming Control Board, certified more machines, attended industry conferences on gaming integrity, wrote technical reports, received positive performance reviews. His expertise was respected throughout the industry. Nobody knew his code was running in dozens of machines across Nevada. Nobody checked. Nobody suspected the regulator could be the threat. The technical methods improved over time. Checksum manipulation became more sophisticated. New techniques for embedding code inside EPROM architecture without leaving traces. Custom diagnostic tools that could validate manipulated chips as authentic under any testing protocol, not just gaming control board equipment. Manufacturers submitting machines for approval gave Harris multiple opportunities to intervene. Initial inspection, routine maintenance checks, field audits. Any of these access points allowed EPROM replacement or modification. The gaming industry's trust structure amplified his reach. Casinos trusted gaming control board certification above manufacturer specifications. Other regulators deferred to Harris's technical assessments. Testing results from his equipment became the definitive standard. A single point of failure had been engineered into the entire verification system. Harris controlled it completely. The slot machine operation could have continued indefinitely. The technical method was sound. Operational security remained tight. McNeil collected winnings without drawing suspicion. No investigation had come close to uncovering the scheme. But Harris's attention shifted toward a more ambitious target, one that wouldn't require any physical modifications at all: electronic keno. Electronic keno operated differently than slot machines. Players selected numbers between 1 and 80. The machine then drew 20 random numbers. Payouts depended on how many player selections matched the draw. The game appeared completely random. The outcomes seemed unpredictable. Harris obtained technical documentation for electronic keno systems through his gaming control board position, access to source code, RNG algorithms, timing cycle specifications, seed generation methodologies, everything needed to understand how the randomness was actually generated. What became clear through analysis: Kino random number generators were deterministic, not truly random. They followed fixed mathematical formulas. The numbers appeared random to players, but they were generated through predictable calculations. If someone knew the internal state of the RNG at a specific moment, the seed value feeding the algorithm, they could calculate future outputs with accuracy. Harris recreated the Kino RNG logic on his home computer. He built a program simulating the exact algorithm used by casino keno machines, fed it timing data, ran thousands of test cycles, compared predictions against actual casino results. The predictions matched. This represented a fundamentally different approach than the slot machine operation. No equipment modifications required, no chips to swap, no physical access needed. Just observation, mathematics, timing. Determine the machine's internal state, calculate the next draw sequence, place tickets at the correct moment. Months went into refining the prediction model, testing different seed scenarios, accounting for timing variations between machines, building confidence that Kino draws could be predicted accurately enough to win deliberately. The target was chosen carefully: Atlantic City, outside Nevada jurisdiction, large casinos with electronic Kino systems. An out-of-state win would generate less attention from Nevada Gaming Control Board investigators who might recognize Harris's name. The goal? $100,000. Bally's largest Kino jackpot. A single perfect hit. January 1995. Harris and McNeil traveled to Atlantic City separately. Registered at Bally's Park Place Casino under different arrangements. Avoided being seen together in public areas. Harris brought his Kino simulation software on a laptop, technical documentation for Bally's specific Kino system, EPROM chips and programming equipment in case machine modifications became necessary, handwritten notes containing RNG calculations and timing predictions. 3 days spent observing the casino's Kino machines, recording draw times with precision, noting timing patterns between draws, watching player interactions, collecting data on how the RNG behaved under actual casino conditions. On the 4th day, all collected data went into the prediction software. The calculations indicated a high probability draw sequence approaching. The RNG's internal state would align to produce a specific set of numbers during a narrow time window. Harris wrote down 8 numbers, calculated the exact moments when those numbers would appear in the 20-number draw, gave McNeil the numbers and the timing window. McNeil purchased 10 Kino tickets. Each ticket contained 8 numbers selected according to Harris's predictions. The tickets cost minimal amounts. If all 8 numbers hit on any ticket, the payout would be $100,000, Bally's maximum Kino jackpot. McNeil submitted the tickets at the calculated time, waited near the Kino display. The machine began its draw cycle. 20 numbers appeared. 8 of them matched one of McNeil's tickets. Perfect alignment. The display showed jackpot, $100,000. McNeil walked to the payout counter, handed over the winning ticket. Staff began processing the claim. Then, they stopped. Something felt wrong about this. Casino staff reviewed the ticket more carefully. The payout amount was substantial. The player had purchased very few tickets total. The win occurred almost immediately after purchase. 8 numbers matching in that exact configuration carried astronomical odds. Too perfect. Surveillance footage came next. McNeil had remained near the Kino machines for hours without playing, placed tickets at one specific moment, left the machine immediately after the draw, showed no visible emotion when the jackpot hit. The behavior didn't match typical gambling patterns. When McNeil approached the cage to collect, staff asked for identification. The hesitation was noticeable. Wallet came out slowly. The ID was provided, but answers to routine questions didn't align with earlier statements about why he was visiting Atlantic City. Casino management contacted security. Security contacted the New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement. State police were notified about a suspicious Kino win. Investigators began checking McNeil's background, who he was traveling with, any associates registered at the hotel, standard procedure for large jackpot verification. The connection to Ron Harris emerged quickly. Same hotel, shared room registration. Investigators requested entry to search the room. Harris was already gone. The door opened onto a workspace, computer equipment on the desk, EPROM chips scattered across the surface, a chip burner connected to a laptop, technical manuals about Kino machines lying open, computer printouts displaying Kino RNG source code, handwritten notes explaining Bally's specific Kino system architecture, schedules listing casino locations with predicted draw times written beside them. This wasn't gambling. This was engineering, planning, technical attack infrastructure designed to compromise the random number generator. Harris had checked out 3 hours earlier. Investigators immediately checked flight records. Already airborne. Destination: Las Vegas. New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement contacted Nevada authorities, described the equipment found, described the technical sophistication, asked if anyone in Nevada's gaming regulation system would possess this level of access and knowledge about casino RNG systems. The call reached the Nevada Gaming Control Board. When investigators there heard the description, EPROM chips, Kino RNG analysis, technical documentation, one name came up within minutes: Ron Harris. McCarran Airport, Las Vegas. Harris's flight landed in the early afternoon. Federal agents and Nevada Gaming Control Board investigators waited at the gate, arrested before reaching baggage claim. The Gaming Control Board terminated his employment immediately. Office sealed, computer seized, all access credentials revoked. Back in Atlantic City, McNeil was arrested at Bally's, held for questioning. Prosecutors offered a deal quickly: testify against Harris, explain the operation, provide dates, locations, amounts. In exchange, charges would be dropped. McNeil accepted, described the slot machine operation, explained trigger sequences, confirmed Harris designed every technical aspect, provided a timeline spanning 2 years. In Nevada, investigators began the massive task of re-examining every machine Harris had certified since 1993. EPROMs were pulled from slot machines across Las Vegas, sent to independent testing laboratories, compared against manufacturer specifications. 33 machines across 14 casinos contained modified code. Each modification followed the same pattern: hidden trigger subroutines embedded in game logic, checksum manipulation to avoid detection, code designed to bypass random number generators under specific input conditions. These machines had been generating forced jackpots for years without anyone noticing. Harris was transported to Gaming Control Board headquarters. The interrogation lasted 11 hours. Initial denials. Then, when shown the Atlantic City hotel room evidence, the equipment, the notes, the calculations, silence. When investigators presented the modified EPROMs from the Las Vegas casinos, the full scope of the investigation became clear. Confession followed. Admitted to altering slot machine EPROMs across Nevada. Admitted to developing Kino RNG prediction software. Admitted to recruiting McNeil. Admitted that the operation ran from 1993 through 1995. Admitted to hundreds of thousands of dollars in fraudulent wins across multiple casinos. 2 jurisdictions, 2 sets of charges. New Jersey charged Harris with attempted theft by deception, conspiracy, and computer fraud related to the Bally's Kino jackpot. Nevada charged him with racketeering for the slot machine operation. McNeil testified in both cases, provided detailed accounts of the operation, confirmed Harris's technical role, confirmed the scope and timeline. Charges against McNeil were dropped per the cooperation agreement. Harris pleaded guilty in New Jersey to attempted theft by deception, pleaded guilty in Nevada to racketeering in November 1997. Nevada issued a 7-year prison sentence. The sentence covered both the slot machine fraud and the Kino attempt. Harris served approximately 2 years before early release. Prosecutors acknowledged the full financial damage remained impossible to calculate. Many manipulated slot machines likely were never identified. Casino records couldn't distinguish between legitimate jackpots and triggered payouts from years earlier. The actual amount stolen stayed unknown. The Nevada Gaming Commission added Harris to the Black Book, the official excluded persons list. Lifetime ban from entering any Nevada casino. New Jersey maintained a parallel exclusion. Walking into a regulated casino in either state would constitute a crime simply by being present. After the Ron Harris case, the industry's response was immediate and comprehensive. Random number generator algorithms were completely redesigned. New systems incorporated better entropy sources. Seed generation became exponentially more complex. Timing cycles were randomized to prevent prediction. The mathematical vulnerability Harris exploited was eliminated. EPROM security protocols underwent complete overhaul. Physical access to firmware programming tools became heavily restricted. Multiple independent laboratories now verified chips instead of single inspectors. Cross-verification became mandatory industry standard. Testing equipment required independent inspection and certification. No single regulator could approve machines without secondary review. The trust structure that enabled Harris's operation was systematically dismantled. The Nevada Gaming Control Board increased background checks for all technical staff. Internal audits became routine rather than exceptional. Peer review of technical work became mandatory policy. Hiring protocols were revised specifically because of this case. But years later, the same vulnerability emerged in a different context. Eddie Tipton, insider at the Multi-State Lottery Association, used similar techniques to rig lottery RNGs and predict winning numbers. Tipton's case referred Harris as precedent. Same exploitation of insider access, same manipulation of trust structures, same fundamental weakness. Harris became required reading. Gaming security conferences analyzed his methods in detail. Regulatory training manuals included his case as primary example. Every casino security audit considered insider risk because of what he accomplished. Today, Harris lives somewhere in Las Vegas. No public profile, no interviews, no presence in the gambling world he compromised. A ghost in an industry that reshaped itself because of him. For 2 years, the regulator nobody suspected controlled the machines everyone trusted, exploited the one weakness the system never anticipated, the person placed there specifically to prevent fraud. The insider.